Well, of all the men history might have chosen to sit me down with again, Joseph, I cannot pretend that finding you across the table fills me with anything resembling optimism. Fate has a rather vicious sense of humour, although I suppose I should be grateful it did not invite Hitler as well. Even eternity ought to have some standards.
If eternity has standards, Winston, neither of us is in a particularly strong position to complain about them. Still, I agree with you on one point. This arrangement lacks judgment, and whatever intelligence designed it has chosen conversation over execution, which already makes it more civilized than several meetings we attended in life.
And what precisely is that?
The future, apparently.
Good Lord. Is that a man discussing tax policy in his dressing gown? From a lavatory?
I did not inspect the architecture closely.
You have lost your curiosity, Joseph. It is unquestionably a lavatory.
Yes, democracy has advanced.
I built a considerable portion of my career upon the wireless and a reasonably constructed sentence. Millions now consider a shouting match beside a towel rail to be political participation. You have been dead for quite some time and you remain irritatingly concise.
Death removes many obligations.
What are these people doing?
Talking.
No, talking has structure. Talking generally begins somewhere, and if civilization is functioning properly, eventually arrives somewhere else. This is more like watching 100 men attempt to drown each other in a bathtub.
You prefer speeches.
Naturally.
Long speeches.
Good speeches.
Long.
The length was a consequence of the greatness of the subject.
That is what every long-winded man says.
Strange. This room feels rather like Yalta.
Yes, though I do not remember you looking quite so alive.
Huh.
Historically speaking, you died before I did.
And historically speaking, Joseph, you are not precisely in a position to boast about punctuality either. I propose we accept the impossible arrangement and proceed with the only sensible question available.
Which is,
what on earth happened to politicians?
At least in my system, a leader ruled. He might be mistaken, cruel, paranoid, or entirely mad. But nobody spent the afternoon pretending that the decision belonged to someone else.
You say that as though honesty about tyranny somehow improves it. A firing squad is not made democratic merely because it does not conceal its schedule.
You prefer this? A leader who wishes to build a road must first survive a committee, then a legislature, then an election, then an editorial, then several men on television who have never built anything in their lives.
Yes. Frequently, irritatingly, gloriously, yes. Because every one of those obstacles represents another person who has not yet handed the country over to the first man who promises to save it. It is preferable because it is reversible. A democratic mistake may be humiliating, expensive, slow to repair, and occasionally spectacular. But eventually the people may say, "We were wrong," and choose again.
People rarely admit they were wrong.
No, but elections do it for them. Sometimes it is. A government that can lose an election without losing its head possesses a remarkable advantage over one that must destroy every possible successor before breakfast.
Order has its price.
So does freedom. The difference is that freedom occasionally sends you the bill before you destroy the building.
And this is the superior system you defend.
At the moment, I call it Thursday. But let us not pretend your alternative was an improvement. In your system, one man eventually became so powerful that disagreement itself appeared suspicious. That is not order, Joseph. That is fear wearing a uniform and calling itself efficiency. Fear is efficient. So is poison. Poison has advantages. I knew this conversation would deteriorate eventually. It improved. Still, I will grant you something. The theatre has degraded. A speech once required an argument. Now a slogan will do. Then the people should learn to remember it. Advocating intellectual discipline, Joseph. Do not become sentimental. Remembering and understanding are not the same thing.
But beneath the comedy, there is something here that genuinely troubles me. Is anyone actually trying to persuade anyone anymore? Or has persuasion itself become another performance? Something a person imitates without caring whether the argument survives the moment?
Persuasion was always partly performance. The difference is that in my time, we wanted the message to endure. These people appear to want it replaced before the day is over.
Precisely. Propaganda, at least as you practiced it, wanted a nation to believe something tomorrow it hadn't believed yesterday. These modern creatures merely want to dominate the next minute.
Because the next minute is where the power is.
I spent much of my life using language to move a frightened people towards something difficult. Sacrifice, endurance, uncertainty. Because I believed they could still be reasoned with, not merely herded. Every speech was theatre, but the theatre served something.
Belief is dangerous because it is difficult to manage. A man who truly believes something may become brave. He may also become impossible to control. And that frightened you. Everything frightened me that could not be controlled. At last, an honest answer. Do not become greedy.
Look at them. The expressions change. The clothing changes. The party changes. And yet the language is all beginning to sound the same.
Because they are not speaking to the contrary. They are speaking to the machine.
Explain.
The old propagandist asked, what will make the people believe? The modern politician appears to ask, what will make me visible? It is a lower ambition, but perhaps a more powerful one. If a message is not seen, it does not matter whether it is true, false, noble, stupid, dangerous, or brilliant.
You believe visibility has replaced persuasion.
I believe persuasion now serves visibility. Conviction is optional. Attention is not.
That is worse than I expected. You wanted power. I wanted victory. Other men wanted empire, glory, revenge, something. But this thing appears to want nothing at all.
It wants attention.
Attention is not an objective.
Then perhaps that is why it is so difficult to defeat. You cannot negotiate with a hunger that does not know why it is hungry.
Joseph, I would like to ask you a question, and I would appreciate an honest answer. Is that man dancing to explain interest rates?
Yes.
Good God.
I have ordered extremely serious matters with more emotional restraint than that man's footwork.
I once delivered an entire address concerning the fate of civilization while chewing a cigar, wearing a waistcoat, and looking as though I had personally declared war on my own breakfast. Yet somehow, the public accepted that a man could discuss national survival without attempting a dance routine.
Perhaps they were easier to impress.
No, Joseph. I believe we simply had trousers that commanded more respect.
What does this woman do?
Apparently, she teaches politicians how to seem natural.
Natural? And they pay her?
Considerably, I suspect.
An extraordinary profession. In my country, if a man could not behave naturally, we simply gave him less opportunity to behave in public.
Yes, your methods did have a certain economy of paperwork.
This is more interesting. An entire profession devoted to reducing a human being to a series of gestures that strangers will tolerate for 16 seconds.
I had advisors. Every politician does. But not one of mine ever suggested that I shorten a sentence because some invisible system might become impatient with me.
Perhaps your advisors understood that you would ignore them.
They understood that if they valued their afternoon, they should present the suggestion in writing and leave the room. But perhaps that is the real humiliation. The modern politician is not even allowed the dignity of being ridiculous in his own way. His absurdity must be optimized.
Now you are beginning to understand.
You know, I have some sympathy with the problem of political survival. I was thanked for helping win a war by being removed from office almost immediately afterward, and I have never entirely decided whether that was democracy's most humiliating insult to me or its most impressive demonstration of health.
You allowed it. You had the army. You had prestige. You were the face of victory to half the world. A different man would have found reasons to remain.
A different man might have. That is precisely why the test matters. If a nation cannot remove a popular leader at the moment he is most convinced that he deserves to stay, then elections are merely ceremonies performed before the inevitable dictatorship.
You speak as though it were easy.
It was not easy. I was furious. I had spent years being called obsolete, reckless, and politically finished. Then, the moment the danger I'd warned of finally arrived, my defects became suddenly useful. And the instant the victory was won, the country decided it preferred someone else.
You could have stopped them.
But a country that cannot vote a war hero out of office on an ordinary Tuesday is not a country at all. It is merely a population waiting for the next man to explain why the vote must be postponed.
I never risked a Tuesday.
You say that as though you understand why.
No. You understand it intellectually. That is different. Every man who controls others is eventually asked the same question by himself. What would they do if they were no longer afraid? It is not a question you can answer safely once you have spent long enough making sure nobody may answer it for you. People imagine control creates confidence. They have it backward. A man securing himself does not need to arrange the applause, supervise the newspapers, remove the rivals, rewrite the room's memory after he leaves it. Those are not proof of confidence. They are proof it disappeared long ago.
That is an extraordinarily honest thing for you to say.
Do not make me regret it.
Perhaps that was always the difference between us. I believed that power had to survive the possibility of rejection. You believed power existed to prevent rejection from occurring.
And you think your method was nobler?
No. I think it was safer for everyone else.
Joseph, humor me. Which one of these men do you believe is actually in command? Any of them. The presidents, the ministers, the party leaders, the commentators. Choose one. Which of them possesses power in the old sense of the word? Not merely the authority to stand before a camera and pretend that events are obeying him.
None.
That is precisely my suspicion.
They perform command. They announce it, gesture toward it, claim responsibility for it, apologize for it, campaign for it. But I do not think they possess it in the way we would recognize.
Exactly. The thing that possesses it has no face, no uniform, no party, no pipe, no cigar, and no name on a ballot. The machine. The machine. It rewards the dance and buries the sentence. It rewards outrage and punishes boredom. It does not care whether the man is intelligent or moral or right, only whether he is watched. I spent decades building institutions designed to influence what people believed. This thing has done something much more efficient. It has convinced people to present their beliefs voluntarily, constantly, and in public. Then it has learned which of those beliefs produce the strongest reactions, without requiring anyone to join a party or obey or even understand that they are participating. That is what interests me. Of course it does. You are admiring the engineering. I admire a bridge without wishing to live beneath it. There is another difference. My system required belief to be imposed. This one does not need belief at all. It needs only participation. An emperor without ideology. An emperor without ambition. An emperor whose only command is, look again. And they do. I dislike it enormously, as do I. Remarkable. We have finally found something capable of making us allies.
Very well. Let us test our theory properly. If this machine truly rewards only the shortest possible form of conviction, then you and I should have no difficulty discovering how badly we fit into the age.
Why should I participate?
Because you have spent the last hour criticizing it, and there is nothing I enjoy more than watching a critic discover that the thing is difficult.
You first.
Absolutely not. I invited you.
You are afraid.
Joseph, I have faced artillery, invasion, political disaster, bankruptcy, parliamentary opposition, and several decades of hostile journalists. I am not afraid of 15 seconds.
Then begin.
My fellow citizens, we stand at a moment when...
You have not begun.
I was establishing the importance of the subject.
You established nothing.
One cannot begin a serious argument in 15 seconds.
Apparently one can begin and finish a political career in 15 seconds now.
Your turn.
Vote for order. Or do not. It will be arranged either way.
That is not a campaign message. That is evidence.
It is honest.
It is a confession.
Modern audiences value authenticity.
Not that much.
Try again.
Gladly. We shall fight the algorithm on the front pages. We shall fight it in the feeds. We shall fight it in the comment sections. We shall resist its endless demands upon our attention and refuse to surrender.
Stop.
Why?
Nobody is still listening.
No, I suppose they are not.
You built sentences for an age that expected a fault to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. This age appears to prefer the beginning, provided it can be repeated.
And you built control for an age in which people still understood what they had lost when someone took it away.
Neither of us was designed for 15 seconds.
A small mercy.
You would have been unbearable on social media.
I was unbearable without it.
That is why I believe you.
Well, Joseph, I find myself oddly at peace. Whatever this modern circus becomes, at least it will remember neither of us fit inside its preferred format. And there is a certain dignity in being too large for the container.
For what it is worth, Winston, I do not think this era will produce another of either of us. Not another orator
who believes language can move a nation, and not another tyrant willing to concentrate power so openly that everyone understands where fear lives. No, it may produce something less dramatic, and therefore more difficult to recognize. Not a man who commands millions, but a system in which millions gradually adjust themselves to whatever receives the greatest reward. The algorithm. The algorithm. And men who serve it. Then perhaps that is the eulogy we came here to write for one another. Not that we were good men. Certainly not in your case, and not always in mine. But that we belonged to an age in which a powerful man still had to reveal what he wanted. No, I think many of them no longer know. They are trained so completely to seek approval that the question of what they would do without an audience may never occur to them. I spent my life believing that the dangerous machine was the state. You spent yours believing the dangerous machine was the enemy. Perhaps we were both too focused on machines with names. And this one has no name. That may be its greatest advantage. To obsolescence, then. To obsolescence. Though I confess there is one thing I would like to know. I already dislike the sound of this. What I could have accomplished with an algorithm. No, I merely wonder. Absolutely not. Imagine the efficiency. Joseph. No elections. No waiting for newspapers. No unreliable subordinates. The people would deliver their opinions directly to the machine, and the machine would... This meeting is adjourned, Winston. Adjourned. I would have been very good at it. I heard that. And no.